everybody. Hey. Hi, good morning. We're here on Unify's Women Rising series and wishing you a good morning and inspiration for your weekend to start you out. We'll let everybody do a little intro, and then we have a very special guest, Johanna, here to give us some music since we can't play our music videos like we usually do, but she's going to do it live for us. And I'm Miranda Clendening, one of the directors of Unify, and super happy to be here.
Woohoo! And then to Ondrea.
Hi, I'm Ondrea Lynn, and I'm from New Paltz, New York.
Welcome, Danielle.
Hi, I'm Danielle E Molella, here from Millbrook, New York.
Welcome, Karen. Uh-oh, you're muted.
Oops, I'm Karen Palmer here in Solvang, California. Good morning.
Welcome, Robyn, who's muted.
Good morning. I'm Robyn Davis. I'm coming in remote from the Oregon coast this morning.
Welcome, Rachel.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rachel Morrison, and I'm tuning in from Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado.
Good morning, everybody. I am Debbie G, tuning in from the Surf City, USA, Huntington Beach, California. And welcome to the stage. We have Johanna Oneheart. She is one of the most amazing co-creators. I have had the privilege to be in her aura, her essence, and the music she brings is medicine. So this morning, as you are sharing this out, please enjoy Johanna Oneheart.
Thank you, Debbie. This is a brand new song in Unity and Love. It'll be on my new album, Spirit Song Soul. So let's breathe into the divine feminine rising and sing Ma together. Ma, 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 Ma. Through the eyes of our children, what do they see? A different kind of world than it used to be. We've got to lift them up and look into their eyes and guide them to reach for the sky. Yes, we've got to have faith and love and synchronicity. We've got to breathe in love and exhale all the greed. We've got to stand in light, ignite the dark. We've got to fight the love, illuminate our hearts. And Ma, 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 Ma. In unity, we are freed to return to the mother, take care of one another, united, non-violent. No, we won't be silenced. Give and receive. Stop and breathe. And so I stop and breathe. I stop and breathe. I stop and breathe. I stop. So I stop and breathe. I stop and breathe. I stop and breathe. Just stop. Sisters and brothers, a change is gonna come. A change is gonna come. Daughters and mothers, a change is gonna come. A change is gonna come with children empowered. A change is gonna come. A change is gonna come. Balance of power. A change is gonna come. A A change is gonna come. A change is gonna come. A change is gonna come. Got to have faith and love and synchronicity. We've got to breathe in love and exhale all the greed. We've got to stand in light, ignite the dark. We've got to fight for love, illuminate our. Help us have faith and love, yeah. Help us spread grace and love, yeah. Help us birth light and love, yeah. Help us unite in love, well. Help us have faith and love, yeah. Help us spread grace and love. Help us burn light and love, yeah. Help us unite in love, yeah. Help us have faith. You can support that track and the whole album that's coming out, Spirit Song Soul, at GoFundMe-Spirit-Song-Soul. We'll put it down in the chat. Thank you so much, Debbie and Women Rising, for having me. We'll be back for a short song later.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to hand it over to Miranda, and stick around. Johanna, we're going to love your feedback too. So stick with it. I see everybody's rocking it in the audience, man. You guys are all our heart. All right.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Johanna. And a change is going to come, and it is coming. And if you haven't invited it into your life to help you have an amazing and incredible life, that's what we're here for, to try to help share some of our journey, because all of us are having a lot of fun with life, even though we're riding with the roller coasters of craziness too in the world. Obviously, everybody is. But having a beautiful perspective of what is actually going on in the world, with a huge renaissance of people awakening to a world that we can have instead of what we've been forced into having, that is causing suffering and harm to our world and harm to each other. So we're making a new world. And today we're going to talk about letting go of the things that aren't serving us. We started to talk about that last time, but kind of barely got into it. And we're going to talk about that more. We'll also talk about how we handle triggers and how we can help start to break that cycle in a gentle way with ourselves, in a forgiving way, and not have to lean so hard on our defense mechanisms and reactive patterns, but have new patterns of ways to deal with it. And really, by healing what is the trauma that then causes the trigger that makes us want to become defensive, is what's coming up. And a lot of that starts with this letting go process. So take it away, ladies.
Well, I guess I'll just jump right in. So I want to appreciate how that you brought up the trigger's the trigger, not you're the trigger. So let's just to get really clear on that. So I've heard it and I've said it myself a lot of times. I was triggered. No, actually my trigger was triggered. And realizing that that is the reactive set point from a memory or from something that's happened in my life. That's the reality of it. It's a part of my brain that I need to look at and entrain, brain entrainment or retrain, or however that might look. One of the things I love about what Johanna brings is through her music, she uses this as a tool for brain entrainment and also to reset some of the patterns and belief systems. And I love that music is a really big tool and it's something we can all use. And I want to share one of the ways that, okay. So listen, a couple years ago, I was on this date, and as I'm cruising down the freeway, I hear this song and then it comes on, and this song is this really cool one that my ex and I used to dance to or whatever. You guys ever have like one of those songs that pop up and it instantly you're going to go right back to that memory of that cool time and you guys are just fully doing the hip grind out there on the floor somewhere? Okay, that was one of these. And I sat back and I went, reset moment. It's a reset moment because I'm now not just aware but mindful that something's happening in my mind, that there's a trigger being triggered, and it wasn't a bad trigger. It's just that I don't want every time that I hear this song come on to that's the memory I go to. I want to reset that. So I mindfully reset this with something very simple by stopping, breathing, taking in the environment around me, and imprinting my brain with what I was seeing in the present moment to that song that was playing on the radio. I didn't allow myself to go into the trigger and into the space because there was no need. I wanted to diffuse it and retrain that. And I found that I can do this with all kinds of things, including quitting smoking, which I did a year ago. There's all kinds of ways to retrain your brain. So I want to encourage everyone to think about what it is. It's not the trigger. It's not that you're triggered, but the trigger that's triggered. And how can you possibly retrain that and not fall back into a reactive state of being, but rather one of curiosity, love, and compassion for yourself. And retrain that. I'm telling you, music's one of my favorite ways to do it. This one just happened to be about a song, but that's all I have to share because I don't want to be longer than about 2 minutes or we can't get to everybody. So all right, ladies, who wants to jump on this one? Hand? I'll just pick one of you. Okay, all right, thank you. Wahoo! Danielle. Oh, you're muted, baby. You're muted. Ooh. Well, that didn't seem to work. So what we're going to do is, Karen, can I just
I can go.
Okay, I'm going to bring you up. Sorry, guys, we just had a moment of we're going with the flow.
And it's so, we're going with the flow. That's all about the flow. So, that song really touch a place inside that really is deeply, deeply wounded, and really needed that hug this morning. And I saw that in the audience too, with everybody commenting, I needed this, I needed to hear this, thank you, I needed this reminder. And I just want to share that. We have the 3 I's that are happening that as we go through these processes, and what she said, stop and breathe. So stop to me is self take over, please. So when I say stop, I'm going, okay, I ain't got this anymore. Self, you take over, because my little self, my little local self, is trying to control and trying to make things happen that I have no control over as my human self. So there's the 3 I's that I consider that we have to really, really get clear on who's talking here, who's talking, because the first I is our inner child. And if you're listening to your inner child, you're wanting to feel safe. And you are doing everything in your power to feel safe. Maybe that might not be healthy, what you're doing to choose for being safe. Maybe you have a false sense of security in somebody else, or you have a sense of security in something outside of you. That's the inner child. The inner child will start to kind of be like a temper tantrum sort of thing until you start to create a really beautiful relationship with that inner child, which is then you become your magical child and your wonder child. So, and that's the magic of the animals too, right? So they come into our world and they help us remember that we are pure love and pure joy. And the animals will remind us of that when we take a moment to stop, self take over, please. Then listen very carefully. The next I is your inner critic. That inner critic is really basically everything somebody else has told you about yourself. And you are creating this character, this self, this idea of yourself. But there is a true self that really exists, that you don't have to really do too much to get to. it's called inner wisdom. That's your third eye. So pay attention to those eyes, right? Pay attention to those three eyes. Am I speaking from my inner child? Am I speaking from my inner critic? Or am I speaking from my inner wisdom? So inner wisdom, another great thing about inner wisdom is, and I want to share just a little song. I'm also a conscious musician. So a little song that I do with the children, because many of the children on the planet right now are wide awake, and they are truly, truly seeing our world in a way that many of the adults can't see and hear them. And so a lot of times children are feeling left out, and they're feeling like, I don't feel really safe to believe in kindness. The old story, we're letting go of the false belief that the nice guy finishes last. This is an old story. It doesn't work for our society. And we have to realize that we're all in this together. We have to realize that the nice guy finishing last is not happening anymore. We are all going to be more kind, more generous, more loving toward each other to see a world that works for all of us. If we don't do that, we're going to destroy this world together. We either come together or we will destroy together. So let's unite, not fight. And that's another thing, pledge to unite, not fight. John Raymer and Summer Raymer of the Compassion Games have created and started a beautiful pledge. So you can go to pledgetounitenotfight.com. And that's a wonderful thing that we can do. And this is just a little song. It's a mudra too. Give yourself a hug. If you're scared, if you're worried about stuff and you're triggered and you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm getting triggered here, you got to just give yourself a hug. That's a mudra. Those are from generations and generations and generations. So give yourself a hug and give yourself, if somebody's triggered you, or nobody triggers us anyway. Like you said, we need to take responsibility for what is upsetting us so that we can just see for ourselves, what are we thinking? Wait, right? So self-takeover, please, is stop. Wait, what am I thinking? And then we will be gentle and be kind. We'll be nice to you. We are the answers we're looking for. Being kind each moment. So give yourself that moment. If you have to excuse yourself to go to the bathroom, if you have to excuse yourself to go sit in nature somewhere, give yourself that moment. Even if somebody's yelling at you at the top of their lungs, even if somebody is, upset with you or is trying to really upset you, your breath, yourself takes over, and you are in control of your emotions, your feelings, and your reactions. So if you can just bring yourself into that space of, I choose to be kind no matter what this person is saying or doing. I choose to come from my inner true wisdom self, and I choose to add to the love and the light on the planet and not the illusion of the separation. It's not real, you guys. It's not real. The separation, it's all part of the play. So don't get caught in the illusion. We're all in this together. So that's just what I would suggest. When we let go, we really, truly surrender, trust, and have gratitude in our inner wisdom. So always stop. So say self-take over. Am I in my inner critic, inner child, or is this my inner wisdom? And ask yourself that in every situation, every circumstance, moment by moment. Stay in the moment.
That was great. Thank you, Karen. Hopefully I'll stay on this time. I got bumped off. For me, lately, well, as the world seems to be bubbling up and things are being revealed and the earth is showing us things and everybody around us is showing us things, I have been definitely tested. I don't know if anybody else has, but I've been tested over and over again with those feeling triggered and feeling like testing my true self, who you were saying, Karen, you're I forget how you referred to it, but it feels like a soul, like your soul. You ask your soul or your person, but your soul really knows the truth. And when yesterday, I drove to Connecticut with some friends, and it was a beautiful day to be out. And my son and I saw this deer just grazing, and we stopped to open the window and talk to it a little bit. And I've had messages from deer before, and in my meditation today, it felt like I was asking for guidance, and there just happened to be this green light that just started to flow out and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I realized, okay, I need to exude the love in me, let it pour throughout me, let it pour throughout my house, the world. And then I pulled this card for today. It was also about love. So I'm getting messages all over that it's all about love. And for me, it means start with you, start with loving yourself, feeding your soul's purpose, feeding the things that your soul wants, and pouring that out. And sometimes you have to do it like manually, like in your meditation, visualize that green. That's what happened in my meditation. It was that green that just flooded throughout my body, and then I pushed it out to flood the rest of the world. That's what I mean manually. It happens naturally for us because we are all kind of healers, and that happens naturally. But to do it manually feels very powerful, and you can I feel like change the environment by doing that. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, was the love. I'm sharing the love, hoping you receive it.
I can't hear you, Debbie.
I muted myself.
Can you hear
I
me?
did. I just pulled you up. Sorry. There we go.
It's okay. I guess I gotta
you
go
do.
then. Okay, well, let's see if this will hang on. It's a little bit of a oceanfront Wi-Fi hotel situation. So letting go of, I run this rodeo. I've, like many of us who have been around a little while, I think for many of us too, just who have been said, as Debbie G calls it, the sacred yes. Is that what you call it? The sacred yes is so big, because as soon as you do that, you turn on like, oh, the universe says, oh, you want to enter mystery school? Here you go. And I'll begin stripping away everything that is not you, right? Mm. And this week, I've really noticed a pattern, not just with the tumult and the elections and all of that, but I'm just really seeing for myself and for others a big kind of a switch up on the teams. Do you ever notice that, like, people going into a new job, a new friend group, a new, like, I had the experience of some things that weren't going the way I thought that they were going to go, or with people I thought was going to happen. And it's like the universe just all of a sudden rearranged the furniture a little bit. And it wasn't a bad rearrangement. It was just all of a sudden, oh, okay, we're doing this. And I had triggers come up, and I noticed there were a couple of people came through with messages, the same ones I was getting. And I've been on the rodeo long enough where I'm like, okay, sit with this. What am I feeling? And what's it really about? You know, is it about that person or that situation? Or is it about security or control or, abandonment? Or what is it really about? And I full on got the message about, like, remember, hands off the wheel, and just like, don't resist, because we're supposed to be going where we are, especially right now. I mean, it is so beautiful and so orchestrated. And even where I am right now, I didn't plan to come on this weekend. I crashed a girls' weekend. And there's a room of 5 women that are on they're all my mothershippers on the Mothership Alliance. And I ended up happening in after Shasta last weekend. I'm like, I'm just going to stay in Oregon with my sister and just let go of control, and like magic happens. And I'll just end this with saying that, you know, I am one of the science, spirit and tech kind of people, spirit, tech, science. And when we let go, it creates space, right? And it creates a vacuum so that new can come in. And right now, as we're shifting our energies, as we're rising up, as we're doing that, if we're not emptying our cups so that we can move with what's changing and fill what's new, then we're not going to move. And I had to remind myself of that a little bit too. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know what this is going to be. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but let's go. It's a little bit of a game. And if you play it that way, and I mean, just again, this week sometimes it's small letting go, sometimes it's daily surrender, and sometimes it's big letting go, you know, job, home, husband, stuff, whatever. But just the little letting go I did, whoosh, and then you get some movement too at the same time. So I highly recommend it. Is that what I'm saying? I guess so.
I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart. I'm going to pull Miranda back because Miranda can't stay with us a long time today. So I'd like to hear some more words of wisdom from our beautiful Miranda, who's got a show starting on her own soon, by the way.
Hopefully soon. which I still have to do a lot of prep for. And that will involve some or all of the women here as well. And that'll be on Spirituality Gone Wild. Yeah, and I do have to run soon, but this is a subject near and dear to my heart because I think that it has really helped me to go through healing and bring a lot of joy and bliss and freedom into my life by not being held back by these patterns as much. But I still, there's like a very fierce mama bear inside me. And when she gets triggered, she can be very strong. my warrior side, I'll say that. And I've had to spend a lot of my life toning this down. I'm a very natural leader, very independent person, very strong person, and was just kind of born that way. And many lifetimes of all kinds of stuff that led to that. But my most beautiful journey has been becoming a more nurturing and gentle and caring and kind mother. But it has had to come with having to learn how to not, having to heal a lot, letting go a lot of trauma that led me to develop stronger reactionary guardian patterns and defense mechanisms. And I mean, one of mine, for example, and this even just came up this last week, and it's like you think you're doing great on the path of, you know, helping heal all this and knowing you're going to do good. And then something comes and tests me very, very strong. But there was a situation where there was basically a disrespect of a woman from some men. And I felt very triggered by that. Many things in my life, as with many other, probably all the sisters here and all the sisters, you know, in the chat with us have dealt with this also, because it's a big issue on our planet. And it was, you know, I feel like when this trigger comes up, or when triggers come up, not only does it come up for how I've been hurt in this way, or for wanting to stand up for another woman and make sure that she is spoken for and has the strength in front of her to not be disrespected. But I also feel like there are generations behind me. I feel all my ancestry, and it's like it feels like it all comes out or wants to come out at once when I feel a trigger like this, and just want to stand up for all the women of the planet in this situation, which is not needed. These, men actually didn't mean to do what they were doing. And so me having to tone myself back and know that kind of triggering is not, called for in these situations, for these men to have to feel the wrath of the entire human or female force of the planet. But yeah, it takes a lot. Debbie's giggling. We talk about this a lot, and being very strong mamas and stepping in when needed. And our sons have had to feel this a lot from us as well, when they dare to disrespect a woman or something like that.
I'm crying.
I know
that is crazy. Yes. Oh my God.
But yeah, in those moments, it does take, literally, I've had to intercept my own patterns and say, take a step back. I have to excuse myself and say, let me center myself before we keep talking for a second. And like just asking people for that permission for a minute can make a huge difference. And then coming back from a centered place and saying, I want to say something, in a centered place, not from a triggered and reactionary or angry outburst or frustration or all of the things that wrap together to make a triggered defense mechanism reaction. And just trying. And the more we do that, the more we can break the pattern, make a more conscious effort towards showing up in the ways that we want to. And then what we say when we're coming from our heart, instead of from this like lioness that just, so when we can center back down and then come from the heart and say what needs to be said, it can be heard in a much deeper way for ourselves too. It helps me heal when I can then say, I can realize what all's in there with that trigger. I can realize all my past trauma. I can realize all my mother's past trauma, all of our ancestors' past trauma, whatever it all is compounded there, and then just say what I need to say from a centered place. And this takes many times of doing that and telling your family and friends, I'm working on this process. I'm trying this. If I ask you for a moment that I need to take a breath, listen to some music, take a minute before we talk next or before we come back into conversation, you have to let me do that, please. It's for everyone's good that I, cultivate this inside myself, and learning your own ways of doing that. Learning, I think spending some time in reflection, doing some journaling on where do I run into these triggers where I see my defense mechanisms come up most? Is it in relationships? Is it with a parent? Who triggers me and why? And what's there? Why do I get triggered? What do I feel when I get triggered? For me, it's almost always hurt. I feel hurt in my heart, and that is compounded by the many things that have hurt me, usually in that realm. And then doing the work on healing that as well, letting go, doing the forgiveness, like we were talking about in the last group, can help that pain to not be like right there in the forefront, to where it's trying to jump out all the time because it's still hurting so bad. So processing that, allowing even generations of the hurt, allowing the, in this subject, allowing myself to cry, to feel the pain of anyone who has been disrespected or oppressed or any of these kind of things, but allowing myself to feel it deeply and then forgive any wrongs that have ever been done, and say that we're all trying to weave a new path that's going to be better going forward, and allowing that trigger to not be so strong in the pain body realm of our bodies, and then creating a new way to break a pattern, to not go into a reactionary pattern, but then also that creates a habit to where we're dedicated to not having a reactionary pattern and dedicated to a habit that we've formed that is a healthier pattern. And I do have to go. I love all of you guys, so I'll hand it over to everybody who hasn't spoken yet.
I love you. We love you, honey. Bye. I want to
Love you, Miranda. Thank you.
Love you too.
So I want to bring this up really quickly. This is Montresol, a heart-centered, soulful fusion of East and West, now available if you go to johannasings.com, Shakti Shop. The other thing I want to bring up and then have Johanna come right afterwards is she does soul voice sessions. And if you use this code, you can get 20% off. And I actually want her to pop in here really quickly. Let me bring you. Hi, babe.
Yeah.
All right.
Hi,
One of the things I dig about you is you bring tools as solutions. And so we're talking about being triggered. We're talking about how to defuse that. And I know that you have a couple of tools you could share with the audience. And then if anybody wants to work with her, I'll put the banner back up again, or you just go to Johanna Sings, which is floating across the bottom. All right, take it away.
Thank you so much, Debbie. I'm so happy to be here. I've spent a whole life learning about how to bypass triggers, as most of us women have needed to do in this world that we've been born into. So I got a degree in women's studies, and I'm also a musician and a yoga teacher. So these tools come from lots of different packages. And what I've learned through the tools of yoga, I was really interested in what Miranda was saying. So thank you for pulling up my last album. I'm going to share a chant to the Divine Mother from Mantra Soul next, and I'm leading into that. But I wanted to speak a little bit about Hindu mythology in a context of being able to apply it to our daily life. Like I was hearing Miranda speak a bit about this tiger, right? You know, and this lioness mother and this, you know, intense goddess energy, which is actually in Hinduism, there are two deities that represent transformation, and they're female archetypes, Kali and Durga. And one of my teachers says that, and I just love this translation, that Durga and Kali slice through illusion and fear to find the truth. And sometimes that's losing your job and your husband and your house, and you wake up and you're at a bus stop with like a piece of cheese and you're like, hey, what just happened, right? I mean, maybe that happens, but you know, you're just having this huge clearing, right? I've heard a lot of women talking about huge clearings and having those be triggers in a way. And so with that spaciousness, what do we do? Right? We've had Kali or Durga slice through that illusion and that fear with her intensity. And sometimes she comes up like a lion on her back. And actually Durga, she rides a lion. And you can look up some of this on my website. I sing mantra music. That is a beautiful way of resetting our nervous systems. So when I feel like I'm in fear, and that fear is creating a trigger, which then is expressed outwardly to the people I love, which I don't love when that happens, what I do is I pull my mala beads, 108 beads, and I will chant just a couple of notes. You don't have to be a singer. Hey Ma Durga, or Om Mata Kali. There are a few chants that can really help, or Jai Ma, just give it back to the Divine Mother who holds all of our suffering, all of our pain. All of these things can be given back. And the point of this bus stop talk that I was saying, where we end up with a bus stop and we've got a piece of cheese and we don't know what happened and we've had all this clearing, is that through that spaciousness, through that clearing that could be perceived as a trigger, there is space to create new, and the blessings abound, right? We end up with a bigger house, a better partner, a better job. And all of a sudden, if we were not in fear in that moment and believing that trigger thought, and maybe stopping to breathe, putting one hand on our heart, one hand on our belly, and tuning in with our center, taking a breath, and noticing that if my partner is the person who's triggered me, I've been working on this. I have a song called Heartbeats One that's been kind of bringing me around the country because it's all about unity, right? And so I might sing that song to myself. My heart beats one, your heart beats one, this heart beats one, our hearts beat as one, as a way to tune into the humanity of whatever is triggering me. If it's something political or someone that I have some triggers around, I might do a metta meditation, a loving kindness meditation, and say, may you be happy, may you be healthy, May you be free from suffering, even if that person just got me the wrong way in exactly the way that hits that trigger. But what I know through trauma tools, which is another thing I use in my coaching and work with clients, is that the first thing we do when we hit a trigger is we need to ground. We need to feel literally our feet on the ground, feel our legs, feel the space of grounded support. Find something in the room that's familiar to us, that brings us joy, that brings a smile across our face, in our heart, so that we know that we're safe despite the trigger. And then you might look around the room. And then anytime that something is out of place or creates more trigger, you come back to that thing that brings you joy and know that it's always there. Just like our practice, just like our breath. So these are just some tools that I love to work with. So grounding, centering. And with that grounded center nature, then we connect, right? My heart beats one, your heart beats one. Feel the heart of the person that you're feeling a trigger with. Because when we find humanity, we can no longer be triggered. That's how oppression happens, by dehumanizing another human, so that we can have anger, have fear, all of these things projected on someone and create suffering. And so for us to humanize the trigger is the most powerful medicine. And all of this just comes from our heart and our center, which is available at any time. It's just all of the fear factory that's being brought into our brains, unfortunately, by the media, keeps us in trauma, low-level trauma all the time. So I could go on and on about this. I so appreciate you listening, and tune in with me, info@johannasings.com. If you have any questions, if I can serve you in any way, I do offer some free 20-minute sessions for new clients on coaching if you want to tune in and see if we're a right fit. But I'm going to sing The Earth Beneath Me next. And this is a familiar song to some people that was gifted by Diana Hull to the women's community, to the midwifery community in the 80s. And it's been all around the world. My mother sang it to me as a baby. And it's on my new album, Mantra Soul, with some new Johanna twists. It's called The Earth Beneath Me. The earth beneath me, the sky above, this heart that's beating. Mother, won't you carry me, carry me, carry me home? So taking a deep breath into the earth, feeling your body connected to the earth beneath you. Reaching out through the crown of the head. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. River is flowing home to the sea. Mother, carry me, child, I will always be. Mother, carry me home to the sea. The earth beneath me, sky above, this heart that's beating. Mother, won't you carry me, carry me, carry me, the earth beneath me. Sky is parting, this heart that's singing. Mother, won't you carry me, carry me, carry me back home. Mother, take me home. Flowing
hold to the sea, the earth beneath me, sky that's parting. Take my heart that's beating. Yes, Mother, won't you carry me, carry me, carry me? Yeah, beautiful. So taking a few deep breaths here, giving it back to the mother, anything that's not serving us. The Divine Mother always has earth beneath us to discharge any negativity. Just feel your feet on the ground. Feel a feeling of trigger or dis-ease. And then drop into your belly breath. Drop into your feet on the ground beneath you. Giving it to the Divine Mother. Breathing into your highest good. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Shakti Ma. Shakti is the divine swirling energy of the goddess, propelling creation, sometimes chaotic, but perfect in her own right, because she is the earth beneath us. We'll sing Jai Ma a few times. Jai Ma. Jai is victory, and Ma is the Divine Mother. These are ancient Sanskrit vibrational chants that help us retrain our brain through sound. So Jai Ma, Jai Shakti Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Shakti Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Shakti Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Shakti Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Shakti Ma. Wait in the water, wait in the water, children, wait in the water. Said Ma's gonna bless this water. Yes, Mother Ocean. Yes, Mother Ocean. Mother Ocean. The ocean flowing inside me. Ocean refuses no river. Mother, won't you hold me? Mother, won't you guide me? Ocean deep, flowing inside me. Ocean deep, flowing inside me. Ocean deep, flowing inside me. Ocean deep, flowing inside.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much. I'm going to switch to Rachel now. And thank you so much, Johanna. And everybody, this is Rachel Morrison.
Hi, Rachel.
Okay. All right, so we are talking about letting it go. We are talking about letting it flow and also working with triggers, it sounds like, right, ladies? Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So sometimes it serves us to actually get out of the way and let the universe play through us. And that requires a lot of letting go of what we think our personal agenda wants to be that will bring the greatest outcome for the situation. And when we choose to create from a place that embodies omni consideration, that requires us to make some compromises of our own desires for the sake of the container, whatever container it is that we're in. And the interesting thing is that I find in that is that when we don't play in that way and consciously make those compromises and consciously let go of those things, they kind of rest right underneath the surface. And they start to create this unique tension. And that unique tension, most of the time, comes into a criticism of an other. But one thing that I know, and I know I've been a trigger for some people's criticism from time to time, and I may have even had criticisms of others from time to time. But one thing I know is that the criticism says way more about the other person and how they choose to live than the other person that they're criticizing. Right? Any level, like, think of the stories that you've heard about one person criticizing another or another thing. It says way more about where that person's at than who they're actually laying the criticism on. And you mentioned deer medicine earlier, Danielle. And sometimes deers get a little skittish when they don't know what's going on. And let's face it, like, deers don't really know what's going on with the other most of the time, and that's why they're so reactive. And it's important for us to just not do that, not come from a place of reactive embodiment, right? And knowing that when we choose to step out of that story of all the things that we think we need to do, think we need to be, a new level of nourishment actually gets to be experienced by us, right? Because how many of us put on all the things that we think we should do or should experience and feel completely malnourished at the end of the day? It's what happens, right? Because we're not letting ourselves fall into the alignment of what our spirit is actually wanting to experience, because we have shoulded all over ourselves. And that is not a fun place to be. And what we do find is when we let things go and let them go courageously and let them go in love and let them go in trust, that what is real sticks. It comes back. It's the thing that takes your breath away. It is, in some ways, the only thing that makes sense to the animating force that is deep within us, right? It's that thing that totally makes sense but doesn't make sense all at the same time. That's what stays when we let all the bullshit go. Oh my God, how great. And I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like living in Dharma and not living in the drama. And that's what I'm interested in. So it's short but sweet today, but happy to be with you.
Thank you, gorgeous. I love it. No more drama. We're going into the Dharma. Ondrea, you want to bring us into our last couple of minutes before we have to say so long farewell?
Yes, so short and sweet. And I love that we come together and we all have different ways of coming about letting go and being more into the flow, because we're all bio-individual, even though we're all the same. And so finding your way to plug into something is the most important, right? So anything that we've shared today, maybe you take pieces of it and you put it together. But one thing,
is to remember that everything's energy. We're energy. Our body's energy. And that's, it's always flowing. It's always shifting. It's always changing. And so I want to say that we're going to probably go through this evolution forever. So I feel like sometimes we get tripped up in this idea that we're going to finally be done with it one day. And maybe we won't, and maybe we will with our triggers. But if we can just be in the remembrance of, like Johanna saying about the oceans and the waters, that, you know, your physical vessel is made up of mostly water. And so that innately has the divine intelligence of flow. And it's the mind that gets tripped up and can say to us, whoa, we're having a trigger. But the body organically and innately is already connected to your flow. So how can you kind of tune into the mind to say, hey, this isn't really real, right? And it's my way of growing and expanding as a human being. And so for me, I like to say, okay, what's going on? I feel a trigger. And where am I feeling that in my physical vessel? Because it's like, I love to use the body as a way to connect to something greater, because that our energy, our body has that intelligence, right? It's the mind, like I said, that kind of gets us tripped up and saying, well, we aren't perfectly perfect. But the mind is a big liar. Right? So just remembering that, where do you feel the trigger in your physical body, and how can you begin to breathe, slow your breath, because your breathing is also innate intelligence. You don't have to think about it. And how can you slow your breath enough so that it can get into the crevices of the body that might hold those memories, obviously do, or you wouldn't have that trigger. And then begin to plug into the present moment where there's a gift for you. And I just want to invite all of you guys to look back right now on your life and notice how much you've changed. You've changed a lot. So give yourself that credit right here, right now. We all have, even though in the moment we go, geez, I'm still having this trigger. But if you look back, I bet you that it's changed a lot for you. So that can continue to grow and evolve. Thank you. I know we are pretty much out of time. So
Thank you, sweetheart. That was awesome. What I want to let everyone know is Ondrea has a 21-day Elevate program that is seriously awesome. And this 21 days is Mind, Body, Spirit Reset. And through this process, you're working with the Archangel energies, and it's awesome. I just started mine. I think we're on day 3. Yes. So the link is in there. And I just want to thank everybody who was here today. Thank you, Johanna, for being here with us today. And it was awesome to be able to raise the vibration and raise up what's been happening out there. There's been a lot of dark. So here we are here. Without your dark, you wouldn't know your spark. And we're here to be the light, the spark, and by remembering who we are grateful for. And that's really what I want to leave everyone with. Even when we recognize our life has a trigger in it, and even when we recognize there's things maybe we're not loving, that's great. But how can we actually flip that and turn it into, this is so for me. This is absolutely for me. It's not against me. And learn how to step into that energy. I do it through recognizing others in my life that I truly am so grateful. Without their that moment with them in time throughout my life, I wouldn't be who or where I am. And that could be any of these people in any experience, whether we call that good or bad, if you want to so put a label on it. So think about who you're grateful for, really slip into that, and go to unifywomenrising.com to find out more about all of us. You can also join our Spirituality Gone Wild Untamed membership. Use the code UNIFY. It is in the link right there, and you can work with us behind the scenes. And that is it for today. Let me bring us all back to the screen so we can say a wonderful goodbye. We love you guys. Have a beautiful weekend filled with gratitude moments, positive momentum. Be your rock star selves.